everybody hear us?
What?
Can you hear
Yes,
me?
Sandra.
Hi.
One in every crowd.
Just a few
Loud
minutes.
and clear.
Are we ready? You ready? Okay. Now you get me confused. I'd like to call this meeting, this June, the second meeting of the Kent County Commissioners to order. Let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag
of the United States of America,
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation,
under God,
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let's have a moment of silence tonight for everything that is happening in our country. We've had the coronavirus and now the unrest, that we can all pull together and try to understand and do what is right for our country. Thank you. Let's see here. Oh, you want to read it?
I can.
Yeah.
For the Kent County public notice for fiscal year 2021, President Mason's asked me to read the public notice. It's Kent County public notice, fiscal year 2021 county budget. Notice is hereby given that on Tuesday, June 2nd, 2020, the County Commissioners of Kent County will hold a public hearing for the proposed FY21 budget at 6 o'clock p.m. in response to the state of emergency due to COVID-19 and the public appearance. The meeting will be held remotely by way of video teleconference and viewable on the county website at www.kentcounty.com/government. The hearing is open to the public and public comment is encouraged. Written comments will be accepted until noon on June the 2nd, 2020. Comments will be read by county staff during public testimony. Public comments can be submitted prior to hearing by the following methods: by email at kentcounty@kentgov.org or by letter to the County Commissioners of Kent County, Maryland, 400 High Street, Chestertown, Maryland, 21620, and by phone during public comment using the call-in option 1-872-239-8359, conference ID 761-547-048, then press the pound sign. Please contact the County Commissioner's Office at 778-4600 or by email at kentcounty@kentgov.org no later than noon on May the 29th. Further instructions on how to observe the conduct of public business, participate in the public hearings process, and provide testimony if desired. The order, County Commissioners of Kent County, Maryland, Sandra M. Blackston, clerk. It was published in the paper, Kent County News, on 5/21/20 and 5/28/20.
Okay, thank you, Ronnie. Tom, would you want to give us the procedures for testifying? Do you have that in front of you?
Yes. Yes, Mr. President. It is our desire that everyone who wishes to contribute to this democratic process be given a fair and uninterrupted opportunity to be heard. To ensure equal opportunity for individual input for the topic under discussion, certain rules must be followed by all persons who are to testify. The chair will remind anyone who testifies when he or she has violated the rules of the proceedings. Rule 1, anyone who wishes to testify must identify themselves. Rule 2, each person testifying will have 3 minutes for his or her remarks. Rule 3, the chair will maintain order via voice commands. And Rule 4, stick to the issues at hand. Live call-in comments will be taken first and in the order in which they are received. The county clerk will acknowledge each caller and announce the last 4 digits of the phone number that was used to call in with. The clerk will also ask to have the caller unmute their phone, allowing them to testify at that time. All written comments will be read into the record by a county staff member immediately after all the calls have been taken. We ask that you please be patient with this process as it is new and different for us.
Okay, we now have the proposed 2021 budget. Ms. Pat, do you want to
Sure.
see?
Okay, so you all should have a copy of the presentation. What I would point out is that the slide numbers are in the bottom right-hand corner, so hopefully I won't lose anybody as we walk through this. So we'll just jump right into it. So one of the biggest challenges in preparing the fiscal year 2021 budget has been factoring in the effect of the COVID-19. So I'd like to start the presentation by looking at the state's revenue projections, which we used as a guide for the county budget. So slide number 2 shows the state's general fund revenue projections for fiscal year 20, 21, and 22. And what you can see is that the solid red line shows the historical revenue numbers starting from fiscal year 13 to fiscal year 2019. And then that dashed red line shows what the revenue forecasts were pre-COVID. So the blue line, the state has made 2 projections, scenario S2 and scenario S4. So scenario S2 is their best case scenario, and that's represented by the blue line. Scenario S4 is their worst case scenario, and that's represented by the yellow line. So you can see, as you look at this, that FY20 probably has the smallest revenue decline from their original projection, but out in FY22 is where they expect to see the largest decline in revenue from COVID-19. So they expect to have this effect not only 21 but 22 at this point. If we look at slide number 3, this takes a closer look at the sources of revenue in the state's projection. This schedule breaks down the revenue decline by income tax and sales tax and other revenues. The income tax is shown in the blue, and the sales tax is shown in that peach color. So you can see that the largest decrease is in the income tax. So slide number 3 shows this is the best case scenario. And if you look at slide number 4, that shows the worst case scenario. Okay, so if we switch over to slide number 5, in developing the county's FY21 budget, we followed the state's income tax model. So what you're looking at here is, if you look at the blue line on this graph, that represents what our income tax projections were back in March pre-COVID-19. And you can see there's an increase up to FY20, and then we had a gradual increase in FY21 and a gradual increase in FY22. As we sit here post-COVID-19, the green line represents our worst case scenario, the red line represents our best case scenario, and the purple line, which is kind of right in the middle, represents what we're using for the budget. So we're kind of going right to middle ground with our projections. One other thing I'd like to point out on this slide is that you can see that there's a pretty big increase between FY19 and FY20 in this income tax revenue, and that's largely because of the rate increase that we implemented on January 1st. Had we not had the rate increase, these numbers would all be significantly lower. Okay, moving on to slide number 6. This schedule represents the historical revenue growth in the county and our revenue numbers. A couple things I'd just like to point out here. In fiscal year 19, our total revenues were a little over $47 million, which was basically the same level that they were at in fiscal year 14. So that was kind of the environment we were functioning in. That led to the rate increase of the income tax in fiscal year 20. So you can see that our total revenues increased in fiscal year 20, and now we're expecting them to decline again in fiscal year 21, again because of the decline in the income tax because of the COVID-19. Okay, the next slide. This schedule shows the county's property tax rate in comparison with the other counties in the state. Kent County has the 8th highest property tax rate in the state at 1.022. We have the 2nd highest rate on the shore. There is no increase in the property tax rate in the fiscal year 21 budget. So you can just kind of see how we compare there. Slide 8 shows the county's income tax rate in comparison with the other counties in the state. Kent County's income tax rate is at 3.2%. It's the highest allowed rate, and we are one of 12 counties in Maryland that have the 3.2% income tax rate. And I guess on slide 9, one other comment about rates. The fiscal year 21 budget does include a 4% increase in water and sewer rates. This is going to generate about $83,000 in annual revenue, and it equates to about an $11.60 increase per quarter. Okay, slide 9 shows us an overview of our revenues in total. Our largest source of revenue is property tax. It makes up 64% of our total revenues. Income tax contribute 28%, and all of our other revenues combined contribute 8% to our total revenues. Slide 11 shows the changes in revenues from last year's budget to this year's budget. You can see that our property tax revenue is going up about $378,000. Again, this is not a rate increase. There was a slight increase in the assessed values in properties. It was under 1%, about 0.75%. Our income tax revenue is going up about $400,000. And this is a little deceiving because the budget for 2020, the income tax was $13,850,000, but our projection is about $15,250,000 in fiscal year 2020. And that's because of the large capital gains revenues that were received. So if you compare the projection for FY20 to the budget for 21, it's actually going down about $1 million. Again, that's showing the impact of the decline because of COVID-19. Our other revenue sources are declining about $523,000, and we'll talk a little bit more about what makes that up in a minute. But the overall impact is that the county's revenues are increasing $255,000 over last year's budget. Okay, slide 12 shows what made up that $523,000 decrease in other revenues. We had a decrease in our 911 fees. The rate increase is generating a little less revenue than anticipated. There's a $132,000 decrease in our capital lease revenue because we've discontinued our vehicle leasing program for this year. There's a $100,000 decrease in transfers from other funds. FY20 included a transfer of $100,000 out of our capital projects funds. Every 5 years we transfer money out to upgrade our technology, so that won't be happening in FY21. And then the last two decreases in recordation and property transfer tax are just based on the current running rates that we're seeing. We're seeing slight declines in those revenue sources. Okay, so moving on to slide 13. I just wanted to make a couple comments about our fund balance before we move into our expenditures. A couple things worth noting here. We project to end fiscal year 2020 with a fund balance of about $6.2 million. This will be $2.5 million over our target fund balance. Our target fund balance is 7.5% of our operating budget. So in fiscal year 2021, we plan to use that $2.5 million to fund our non-recurring expenditures in our FY21 budget. We also plan to end fiscal year 21 right at our target fund balance of 7.5%, and that'll be right around $3.9 million. Okay, slide 14 takes a look at our expenditures. Our total expenditures for the budget fiscal year 2021 are increasing $980,000. We usually look at our expenditures in the recurring and non-recurring segments or categories because the funding streams are different for each section of the budget. So our recurring expenditures are increasing $492,000, and our non-recurring expenditures are increasing $488,000, and we'll talk a little bit more about each one of those sections of the budget. So first we'll take a look at the non-recurring expenditures on slide 15. The non-recurring expenditures are made up of $400,000 of increased contingency funds. This is a one-time adjustment that we're making to the FY21 budget, mostly because of the uncertainty surrounding the impacts of COVID-19 on our revenue streams. We also have $608,000 of capital expenditures in our non-recurring expenditure section, and this is down about $267,000 from our last year's level, and we have just under $1.5 million in capital projects. So those three items make up our non-recurring expenditures in our budget. Slide 16 gives a breakdown of the capital expenditures. And they're mostly occurring in two areas, public works and public safety. And you can see a listing of the individual projects there. There's about $465,000 of capital in public works and $143,000 in public safety. On slide 17, we'll take a look at our recurring expenditures. This schedule breaks down the recurring portion of the budget between public school expenses and county government expenses. Our total recurring expenditures are increasing $492,000 or 1%. Our public school funding is increasing $737,000 or 4%, and the county portion of our recurring expenditures are decreasing by $245,000 or 1%. And we'll talk a little bit more about the changes in each of those categories. Slide 18 gives us a breakdown of our recurring expenditures by function from our largest category to our smallest category. So you can see there the largest category being public schools, followed by public safety, general government, public works, and so on. Kind of just to give you an idea by function where the money is being spent. Slide 19 is the same recurring expenditures, but instead of by function, it's by category, such as salaries, benefits, operating, and allocations. So again, this goes from the largest category of funding down to the smallest. So again, it would be public school funding, followed by salaries, and then operating expenditures. Slide 20 takes a look at our recurring expenditures and shows the changes by category year over year. So the first four categories are increasing from last year, and the last three categories are decreasing. So as you can see, our public school funding, our transfers to other funds, our benefits, and our salaries are increasing, and our operating, allocations, and debt service are decreasing. and we'll talk a little bit more about what makes up the changes in each one of those categories. So the first category would be public schools. This funding is increasing by $737,000, and it's really made up of two pieces. One is the appropriation, and one is the debt service. So the appropriation is really made up of the maintenance of effort, and there's two pieces to this. The first is that they take if there's new students, we pay the cost per pupil times the number of new students, and that accounts for $63,000 of the maintenance of effort calculation. We have 6.25 new students this year. The second part of the appropriation is an adjustment in the formula. We are in the lower half of the state average of funding, so there's a 2.5% adjustment that they apply to the maintenance of effort, the cost per pupil. So that 2.5% adjustment is $453,000. So those are the two pieces that go into maintenance of effort that make up that $516,000 increase. In addition to that, the debt service for public schools is going up $221,000, and that's due to the fiscal year 20 projects that are going to be financed. There's roughly $1.6 million in projects. You can see the projects listed there: Rock Hall, and Galena, and security vestibules. Okay, on the next slide, we'll talk about the increase in the transfer to other funds. This category is going up $346,000. The largest increase in this category is that we had some maintenance projects in water wastewater that were shifted from 20 to 21. I think it was largely the Clariflocculator project. And there's a small increase in the Kent Family Center for benefits. On slide 23, the next category that's increasing is our benefit category. It's going up by $258,000. And this is largely due to increases in our benefits. Our health insurance is going up 6%. Our dental insurance is going up 3%. Costs are going up 9 and 8%, depending on the plan. So all of those increases together come out to $258,000. On the next slide, our salaries category is going up $105,000, but that is a little bit deceiving. There is no salary increase in the fiscal year 21 budget for county employees. There is one new position that's in the election office that is mandated by the state. This is a position that's been vacant for several years that now the state wishes to be filled. So that is included in here. We are also in the salary category eliminating our summer youth employment program. Okay, and now we'll talk a little bit about the categories that are decreasing. On slide 25, our operating expenditures are going down $684,000. This category is 10% below last year's level. And we've really reduced almost every line item in operating in various departments, but some of the line items that have been most significantly are listed here. Surface treatment, education and travel, advertising, supplies, services. On slide 26, our allocation category, which is funding to agencies that are not a direct part of county government, but provide services to Kent County citizens. This category is decreasing $224,000. Similarly to the operating category, most agencies are being funded 10% below last year's level. We have an exception with the health department that's being funded at last year's level, primarily because of the COVID considerations. And we have a couple agencies that are funded at their mandated levels, such as the volunteer fire companies. There's a formula we have to follow for their funding. And the State Department of Assessment and Taxation, it's legislated that we have to fund a certain amount of their funding. Slide 27 talks about the debt service category. This category is going down $46,000. Our vehicle leases are slightly less than anticipated. In our general obligation debt, we paid off one of our loans and we're refinancing another, so that'll have a savings for us. And that takes us through the expenditures. Aside from the expenditures, one of the things that the county always tries to do is collaborate, and we have a lot of collaborations with other agencies and other governing agencies. And so we wanted to talk a little bit about some of these collaborations where there really aren't, they don't show up in the budget because there's no dollars next to them, but have a huge impact on operations. The first collaboration is the free high-speed internet access that the county has put in for the anchor sites and the community at large. The internet access is available to the anchor institutions, which are the public schools, the municipalities, the libraries, water, wastewater facilities, the fire companies, and the Humane Society. It's also available to the community through homework hotspots and through the Wi-Fi in downtown Chestertown and also in Rock Hall. We also have collaborations with Kent County Public Schools. We provide network engineering services, school resource officers, assistance with maintaining their athletic fields, community center and Kent County Park use, access to the diesel depot for the school buses, and some minor road surface or pothole repairs. On the other side, the Kent County Public Schools offers many collaborations with the county. They provide storage space for us at Wharton Elementary. They provide facilities for county programs, advertising for county-wide events. They provided the land for the solar field and the community center, and they're currently providing fingerprinting services for county employees. So as our resources get scarcer, these collaborations certainly become more meaningful. The last thing that I wanted to talk about on slide 32 was our capital projects budget. Our capital projects budget is a little under $8 million. We have $4 million in county projects, and we have $3 million in public school projects. Slide 33 starts to detail those. On the Kent County Public School side, we have renovations to Rock Hall Elementary, and we have renovations to Galena Elementary. Slide 34 shows the county projects, the $4 million for. We're doing a water treatment plant out at the Nicholson landfill. We're doing more broadband expansion. We have several public landing projects, and we're doing some demolition out at the Wharton Arena. So in addition to the capital projects that are slated for fiscal year 21, one thing that we look at every year is our long-range capital plan. And as we look out into the future, we have about $77 million worth of capital projects on the horizon for Kent County. We have 2 large public school projects, one for our middle school and one for our high school. On the county side, we have a couple of large projects also with our courthouse renovations, public safety complex, and some parkland development and enhancements. Okay, so if we were to, or as we do proceed with these projects, that $77 million would equate to an increase of just under $6 million in debt service. And slide 36 shows how that debt service would be phased in as those projects were implemented. Again, that 5-year plan is very fluid, subject to change, certainly in our current uncertainty with our revenues. Well, we just wanted to make mention of those things on the horizon. So that concludes my presentation.
Thank you, Pat. Now ready for the budget hearing comments. Sandra, do you want to?
Yes. So we do have 4 callers on the line. I do not know if they're all waiting in queue to speak regarding the public hearing for the FY 2021 budget. But what I'll do is I'll call the last 4 digits of their phone number, ask them to state their name after they unmute their phone. So the first call has the last 4 digits of 1272. Last 4 digits 1272 if you wish to comment on the budget.
One, 272. You wish to comment on the budget?
I'll go to the next number if you want. I'm sorry.
Hello?
1272 did unmute.
Hello?
Yes. You may proceed.
Hi. Thank you, Mr. Commissioner President. This is Elizabeth Watson. I actually don't have a comment on the budget per se, but on the process. I'm not even sure that in the visual for the meeting that the screen was showing what the presenter was discussing. But it's very difficult to understand what's going on when you're not sharing on screen the presentation that was very full and interesting, and I appreciate the information, but it would have been helpful to have been able to see the presentation as well. That's my comment for this time. I'm on the line for another comment later. Thank you.
Thank you.
The next call is 5353. Last 4 digits 5353.
This is Karen Miller with the Kent Soil and Water Conservation District. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Hi, I have Charlie Miller here with me. He's the Vice Chairman of the Board. Thank you for allowing us this time to speak with you, Mr. Chairman. We want to talk about our budget. I realize that things are tight, and our budget was cut 10% across the line, which meant that all of our salaries were also cut 10% because we only have a $16,000 operating expense. Our whole budget is salaries. We are looking to replace Joe Blizzard's position that in the past he has done the stormwater review along with sediment erosion control for us. And right now, with what's left after maintaining salaries for 3 employees, we only have $36,171 left to hire him. I did send in a print out. I hope you have it in front of you. That explains that with $36,000, that only leaves us $20,200 for a salary, which everybody knows we're not going to be able to hire anybody. I understand that planning and zoning is planning on taking over the stormwater review, which is fine. It's your program. So what I would like to request is $40,000 in salary so that we can hire a technician. This person would have to be able to continue to do stormwater plans for our farmers, review the sediment erosion control, and would also do engineering work for the technical work in our office to get BMPs on the ground. That's a total of $55,927, which is a shortfall for this budget of $19,756. We would like to request that you consider adding that to our budget so that we can get this position replaced. It's needed to help the farmers and to review sediment erosion control for Kenton County landowners.
And the final number you requested was 19,000, Karen?
Yes, 19,756 would allow us to hire this position at $40,000, plus the benefits. Of course, they would have the state retirement and everything that we have. I came up with that figure because the state is now hiring technicians at a $38,000 limit, and with being able to write stormwater plans for farmers and review sediment erosion control, that kind of gives it a little bit more duties assigned to that position. So I just added 2,000 to that, and that would put us right in line with how the state is hiring their people.
Yeah, I wasn't questioning it. I just didn't make out what you said. I just wanted to be clear, that's all. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you, Karen. We certainly will take that under advisement. We're not making any decisions tonight. It's just a hearing. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much for listening to us.
Thank you.
And the next caller would be 1853. Again, last four digits, 1853.
One 1853. You want to go on to the next one, and we'll come back.
And the next call would be last four digits 6768. Last four digits 6768 to make a comment on the public hearing for FY 2021 proposed budget.
6768. Comments on the budget? Six, 7, 6, 8. Or 1853.
If there's anybody left on the line that would like to speak for the public hearing for the FY 2021 budget, please feel free to unmute and speak.
Yes, is there anyone else on the line that would like to speak on the budget? We want to give everyone an opportunity to participate.
I would say it's safe to close the public hearing.
Okay, then.
So now we have four written comments, one caller already specified her comments. So Pat would like to read the written comments that were submitted prior to the hearing, written testimony.
We have four written comments. Two?
Three.
Three. So, and Pat's going to read them into the record.
Okay, so the first one is from Dr. Karen Couch, Superintendent of Schools, and I'll just read what it says here. On behalf of the Board of Education and the administration, I am submitting written comments regarding the proposed, excuse me. I apologize. Too much talking tonight. Okay. On behalf of the Board of Education and the administration, I am submitting written comments regarding the proposed Kent County Commissioner's budget for FY '21.
Pat, you want me to read it? You read it now.
Sure. Thanks, Ronnie. Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
That's all right.
Kent County Board of Education, by Dr. Aaron N. Couch, offices. Dated June 2nd, 2020. Dear Kent County Commissioners, on behalf of the Board of Education and the administration, I am submitting written comments regarding the proposed Kent County Commissioner budget for FY '21 as it pertains to the Kent County Public Schools. As communicated during our recent budget presentation to the Board of Commissioners, the Kent County Public Schools has many needs that we will be unable to address for the maintenance of effort budget. As you know, final budget recommendations will require a reduction to the superintendent's FY '21 budget as approved by the Board of Education. we have begun discussions on how the approved FY '21 budget can be adjusted in conjunction with renegotiating tentative agreements with employee bargaining units. We understand that the COVID-19 pandemic has presented both our organizations with unprecedented challenges. We appreciate the difficulties and the many unknowns that both of us will face in the coming year. We would like to acknowledge our appreciation for your support for the Rock Hall and Galena renovation project. As you know, both of these projects will substantially improve the educational environment for the students and staff in these buildings. Again, thank you for the opportunity to comment on the budget, and as always, we wish you well in the upcoming year. Respectfully, Dr. Karen Couch, Superintendent of Schools.
Okay.
Okay, thanks. Let's give it a whirl again. Okay, this next one is from Carolyn J. Hendricks. Dear Commissioners, this brief note is part of my ongoing effort to support Kent Center in any way I can, and in this instance, describe to you the importance of Kent Center in our daughter Erin's life and in ours. Erin, now 25, aged out of her former residential school when she was 21, after having been there for 13 years. During that time, her dad and I saw how she thrived on the structure provided by trained educators, assistance through her many seizure episodes by a committed nursing staff, and the presence of a social community of similarly abled peers and dedicated caregivers. When it came time to leave her school and look for her forever home, where we hoped she would spend the remainder of her life, we were afraid we would not be able to find a suitable place. So afraid, in fact, that I began looking into possibilities a full 2 years before she would need to move. After many interactions with agencies that for one reason or another were not a good fit for Erin, we interviewed with Kent Center. Right away we knew that this was the place for Erin. It was situated in a lovely part of the Eastern Shore that would be easy for us to get to from our home in Cecil County. The residential homes were well cared for and staffed by loving caregivers. Much thought was and continues to be given by Erin's program coordinators as to what she needs to make her days at the center meaningful and her rights at her group home safe and secure. The nursing staff is superb, which is important in light of Erin's ongoing seizure disorder. I feel confident that I write this note for all Kent Center clients and their family members. The services that Kent Center provides are invaluable and most necessary to the community. Upon visiting the center, one immediately gets the idea that they are all one big happy family. The staff and caregivers regard their employment not as a job, but as a calling, and they are truly inspiring to us. We sincerely hope that Erin will be able to live out her life at Kent Center among the people who know her and love her. It was a very lucky day for us when we found Kent Center, and they are most worthy of your support. Sincerely yours, Carolyn J. Hendricks. Okay, and this next one is from Linda Cates. It says, Dear Commissioners Mason, Fithy, and Jacob, I am writing to urge you to support funding for Kent Center, a vital community resource that serves people with intellectual and developmental disabilities in Kent County. As you know, Kent Center is a nonprofit, entirely dependent upon state and federal funding to provide the services they offer. That means that they work within an extremely limited budget, so funding from Kent County makes a huge difference in their ability to offer quality services for our most vulnerable citizens. At present, Kent Center serves 73 people with disabilities in day and residential programs ranging in age from 21 to 85. One of those people is my son Aaron, who has attended Kent Center's day program since 1999 and moved into one of their group homes in 2018. Now 41 years old, Aaron functions at about the level of a 5-year-old, so he cannot be left alone. When he left the Kent County school system in 1999, my husband and I were able to continue working full-time because we knew he would be safe and engaged in productive work in the day program. In 2018, we made the emotionally difficult decision to place him in a Kent Center group home in Chestertown. While we would have preferred to keep Aaron at home with us, we are now 73 and 78 years old, and we have to prepare for a time when we will no longer be here to care for him. He will need a home to live in where dedicated, compassionate people can keep him healthy and safe for the rest of his life. That is the business Kent Center is in. We feel extremely lucky that Aaron will be able to live out his life close to home in the community he has lived in for all of his 41 years. Providing a safe home is particularly important in the midst of a pandemic. People can only shelter at home if they have a home to live in. For people with disabilities, that also means a full-time staff 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Kent Center currently serves 39 people living in 14 group homes. In addition, they provide support for higher functioning people who are able to live more independently. Every one of those group homes is open and fully staffed right now to keep the people Kent Center serves safe. For those people, many of whom have underlying medical conditions, having a safe place to live means surviving a pandemic. Kent Center is also vitally important to Kent County's economy. With 147 employees, Kent Center is the third largest private employer, excluding the county and Washington College. Despite having to relocate their day program, they have kept all those people on the payroll throughout the pandemic by reassigning day program support staff to residential care and other positions. They continue to offer day program services remotely to people living in their group homes or temporarily staying with their own families. There are also 8 people with disabilities working in the community, helping to keep Chestertown's small businesses operating. One of them bagged my groceries at the Acme during senior hours recently. You may have seen another if you drove through McDonald's to get a burger. They are essential workers and taxpayers. With mandates at the federal and state level to move people who are able into the workforce, Kent Center has been working hard to prepare those they serve for jobs once the economy opens up and people can go back to work. In the meantime, Kent Center needs your support to continue all the services they offer that benefit both those with disabilities and the greater Kent County community. Please be as generous as you can when you consider funding for Kent Center. Sincerely.
Okay, thank you, Pat. Are there any other calls on the phone? Is 1853, 6768. Anyone else that wishes to comment on the budget? So no one?
No additional calls.
Okay, well, you have written comments will be accepted until Friday, June the 5th at 12 p.m. either by email, kentcounty@kentgov.org, or by letter to the County Commissioners of Kent County, 400 High Street, Chestertown, Maryland. At this time, we'll close the public hearing on the budget.
Make a motion to adjourn the public hearing.
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Okay. So now we will move on to Agricultural Land Preservation District hearing. Bill, did you want to read this into testimony, or Tom? One of the,
This is just a notice.
just a notice of it, or do you just want me to read it?
Can't hear you, Tom.
Can't hear you, Tom. We see your mouth moving. Okay, Tom. Ronnie will read it.
Okay, we have notice of public hearing. The County Commissioners of Kent County, Maryland will hold a public hearing on Tuesday, June the 9th, 2020 at 10 a.m. in the County Commissioners Hearing Room, R. Clayton Mitchell Jr., County Government Center, 400 High Street, Chestertown, Maryland. In response to the state of emergency, individuals must refrain from attending meetings in person. Please contact the County Commissioner's Office, 410-778-4600, or email kentcounty@kentgov.org no later than June the 5th, 2020 for instructions on how to observe the conduct of public business, participate in the public hearing process, and provide testimony if desired. The public hearing is scheduled for the purpose of discussing the voluntary creation of agricultural land preservation districts for the following: Wayne, is it Timey?
Theme.
Galena Road, map 37, parcel 8. Wayne, Teamy, Maryland Line Road, and Walnut Tree Road, map 24, parcel 3. Wayne, Teamy, Walnut Tree Road, map 24, parcel 18. Robin Reed, May, and Jonathan F. Reed, Flatland Road, map 37, parcel 400. Robin Reed, May, and Jonathan F. Reed, 7600 Wharton Road, map 37, parcel 90.
9600.
Jonathan and Jane Reed, 24913 Chestertown Road, map 44, parcel 115. Frank R. Lewis Jr. and Janet C. Lewis, 30475 River Road, map 31, parcel 7. And last is Timothy and Mary Catherine Redmond, 7939 Baker's Lane, map 43, parcel 16. This hearing is pursuant to the Code of Public Laws of Kent County, Chapter 178-5, Agricultural Preservation Districts, by the order of the Kent County Commissioners. The County Commissioners of Kent County, Maryland, Sandra M. Blackson, Clerk. It was published in the Kent County News on 5/28/2020.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Fithian. We now have a community development block grant applications for Kent. This is also a notice of a public hearing. Bob, you want to read it? You can find it there.
Notice of public hearing, community development block grant application for Kent County, Maryland. Board of Kent County Commissioners of Kent County, Maryland will conduct a public hearing to obtain the views of citizens on community development and housing needs to be considered for submission of an application to the Maryland Community Development Block Grant Program, CDBG, for funds awarded through the Federal CARES Act. Funds must be used to prevent, prepare for, and respond to the coronavirus. Citizens will have the opportunity to discuss proposed projects and provide input on other needs to be considered. The public hearing will be held virtually at 10 a.m. on Tuesday, June 9th, 2020 in the Commissioners' Hearing Room R. Clayton Mitchell Jr., Kent County Government Center, 400 High Street, Chestertown, Maryland. The agenda for the meeting will be published online at www.kentcounty.com/commissioners/meeting-agenda. The agenda will be posted 24 hours in advance of the meeting, and it will include a unique call-in number. Members of the public may participate in the public hearing and offer comments at the meeting. Citizens who wish to view and listen to the meeting and public hearing may do also on the Kent County live stream webpage at www.kentcounty.com/commissioner/meeting-live-video. The commissioners are scheduled to vote on the CDBG application following the public hearing at the same meeting. The draft CDBG application will be available for public beginning on Monday, June 8th at 10 a.m. through Friday, June 12th at 4:30 p.m. during normal business hours. A digital copy will be available upon request by emailing wmackey or WMACKEY at kentgov.org or calling Bill Mackey at 410-778-7473. Citizens will be furnished with information including but not limited to the amount of CDBG funds available, the range of activities that may be undertaken with the CDBG funds, and the proposed projects under consideration by Kent County, Maryland. The Maryland CDBG program is a federally funded program designed to assist governments with activities directed toward neighborhood and housing revitalization, economic development, and improved community facilities and services. It is administered by the Maryland Department of Housing and Community Development. Efforts will be made to accommodate the disabled and non-English speaking residents with 24-hour advance notice to the Kent County Commissioner's Office at 410-778-4600. By order of the Kent County Commissioners of Kent County, Sandra M. Blackston, Clerk.
Thank you, Commissioner Jacob. We now have several consent items. The regular session minutes from May the 26th, the liquor minutes from May the 26th, the public hearing minutes from May the 26th, and the closed session minutes from May the 26th.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. We now have the report out of closed session from May the 26th. On May the 26th, 2020, the Commissioners held a closed session to discuss the appointment, employment, assignment, promotion, discipline, demotion, compensation, removal, resignation, or performance evaluation of appointees, employees, or officials over whom this public body has jurisdiction, or any other personnel matter that affects one or more specific individuals in accordance with General Provisions Article 3-305B1 of the Internoted Code of Maryland. Topics to be discussed: matters specific to individuals are confidential. Reasons for closing: matters related to individuals are confidential. And no votes were taken. We're now ready to move on to the legislative session. So I guess we,
Motion to go into the legislative session.
Second.
all those in favor say aye. Aye. The first item here is the agricultural building size. Let me see here.
Mr. Mackey is available.
Yeah, Mr. Mackey, do you want to proceed with that? I don't know that we have to read this whole, do we have to read that all into
No, but a nice summary.
a summary of what we're voting on?
I don't think he's coming. No, I don't think we can hear you.
Bill, Mackey,
Tom's talking. And
I
we
was
can't-
having a problem muting. I don't know if Bill was, but to answer the earlier question, the summary's fine, but it looks like Bill, can you speak?
I don't know, can Bill hear us?
He looks like he's lagging.
I don't
which
think
means he has an
I
internet
can.
problem.
Or Tom, can you
Hello,
hear us?
I'm flipping devices. Can you hear?
We can hear you, but not real well.
Okay. Yeah, I wasn't able to hear anything
Okay.
at county.
That's better, yep. Okay, go
Did
ahead.
you want me to summarize the?
Yeah, summarize this legislation.
Okay, yes, sir. So the item before you for adoption is Code Home Rule Bill 2-20. This addresses the process that there was a bill adopted in September, Code Home Rule Bill 520-19. What that bill did was it increased the maximum allowable size from 25,000 square feet to 50,000 square feet for agricultural buildings. Inadvertently, during that process, there were 3 sections of the code that addressed this. One section was left out. It's considered housekeeping, so this bill would correct that by adding the language in the 3rd place. On January 22nd, your Agriculture Advisory Commission reviewed this ZTA and recommended favorably to the Planning Commission. The letter is attached. On February 6th, it was also presented to the Planning Commission and received a favorable recommendation. On May 26th, this body held a public hearing, via conference call, and staff recommended.
Would you like me to repeat that? Bill, you're very broken up. Would you like me to repeat some of what he said?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so
Yeah.
Code Home Rule 2-2020 would amend the Kent County Land Use Ordinance to address an inadvertent admission in the Code Home Rule Bill 5-2019 relating to the maximum allowable size of agricultural buildings subject to the special exception provisions of the Agricultural Zoning District, AZD. This item is considered housekeeping. It does not affect the substance of the previously adopted Code Home Rule Bill 5-2019. On January 22, 2020, the Agriculture Advisory Commission, AAC, reviewed the proposed CTA. The AAC recommended the proposed CTA favorably to the Planning Commission, and a letter from the AAC is attached. On February 6, 2020, the proposed CTA was presented before the Planning Commission and received a favorable recommendation. A letter from the Planning Commission is attached. On May 26, 2020, the County Commissioners held a public hearing on this item via conference call. No member of the public spoke on this matter.
Mr. President, when we did the previous legislation, the intent was to increase the size of the agricultural buildings, and we thought that that previous legislation would do that. And we sought to change the square footage each place where it was referenced in the zoning ordinance. And after we passed the legislation, we realized there was an additional place in the zoning ordinance where the square footage was referenced, and we didn't put that in the original bill. So this bill completes the intent of what the original bill accomplished.
Thank you.
With that, I'll make a motion to, that we approve this. I vote in favor of the application.
And I'll second that.
Is there any other discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Okay, we're now moving on to the Code Home Rule 3-2020. And do we want to give a summary of this bill?
Let's see if Bill, let's try your connection one more time. Maybe
Bill?
read the first paragraph of the summary, and we can determine whether the connection has improved.
Bill,
Thank you. Code Home Rule Bill 3-2020 would amend Chapter 322 of the Zoning Code. It would include data processing centers in specific zoning districts as a special exception with certain specific conditions, and in other zoning districts as a permitted use. It would provide alternate compliance for specific design standards in certain zoning districts, and provides for parking requirements for data processing centers. How was that?
Would you like?
yeah, I think we could hear that fine. If you want to proceed.
All righty, thank you. On March 6th, the Economic Development Commission submitted a letter in support of the proposed zoning text amendment. They also the Economic Development Department provided a report from the Maryland Chamber Foundation, as well as a report from the U.S. Chamber of Commerce. There's been additional reports provided in your packet, updated information from the Maryland Chamber, as well as a variety of maps. On February 6th, this was presented to the Planning Commission. This particular zoning text was not favorably recommended by the Planning Commission, except for those portions of the amendment related to the business center, commercial, and industrial zoning. And a letter from the Planning Commission is attached. On January 22nd, your Agriculture Advisory Commission reviewed the proposed zoning text amendment. The Commission unanimously recommended that the Board of County Commissioners consider act provision in the special exception section of the text that would require the Board of Appeals to consider the proximity of current and anticipated preserved land in the reviewed application. And the AAC also recommended the proposed ETA favorably to the Planning Commission, and their letter is attached. On May 26th, this body held a public hearing to receive comments and input from the public on the proposed text amendment. Those comments were submitted live via conference call, in writing by letter, and also by email. Correspondence received by noon on May 22nd was read into the record of that meeting, and the Commission has also held the record open until May 29th at 12 noon to receive additional public comment and input. Before we'll answer any questions that you might have, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Bill. So now I guess it's up for us for a decision. Pardon?
Let's talk a little bit.
Well, let's have a
if there's a motion.
motion and a second, and then we'll discuss it.
Right. You need a motion.
So whatever the motion is, then you'd vote on it, and then you.
Yeah. Well, I think that's Robert's Rules of Order.
So we need a motion to start?
Technically, yes.
Typically, there'd be a motion, there'd be a second, and then there would be discussion. But you need something on the table. You need a motion and a second,
In order to have something
and then you would
to
have
discuss.
discussion.
Yeah.
Then I'll make a motion that we approve the addition of, we're making a concerted effort to
You
try.
can always amend the motion after discussion.
Excuse me?
You can amend the motion after the discussion, should the discussion
Yes.
be such.
I'm going to make a motion that we, based on what I heard from the public hearing, the one objection was having agricultural zoning involved in this. I'm going to make the motion that we add language to allow for data processing centers in industrial, commercial, village, and employment center zoning districts, and not allow at this time them to be placed in agricultural zoning districts. Now you want to go ahead and have some discussion.
Well, we have to have a second first.
Okay.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Now we can have discussion.
All right, I'll start. So during the public hearing, people asked, why do we even need to do this to begin with? Well, the reason we need to do this to begin with is because down the road, we have huge capital projects that we have no way of funding. And we need to diversify our revenue. 20, 30, 40 years ago, Tom, you spoke about how many dairy farms there used to be, over 100 and some.
In 1971.
Now we live in a county where pretty much all our farms just grow crops, you know. So we don't have the revenue from the farms that we used to. I know that from a sales standpoint, number one, their sales from our manufacturing companies is our number one supporter of the county, and now farming has fallen to number 4. And also with technology, the farms aren't employing people like they used to, because you have these monstrous tractors and excavators or pickers or whatever that are doing the work of multiple people. So, which is one of the reasons why I think we need to diversify our revenue. I agree with Ronnie's motion. The part of me is, if we leave the AZ out, do we have a year and a half to wait till perhaps bring it back if we needed it or not? That's something I don't know. I mean, I'm pretty sure we have enough land set aside, leaving the agriculture out, that we should be covered for data centers, but what if we don't? We talked about some of the land up on the 301 corridor. That's in for commercial use, but if you go up there and look at it, it's really not very good land. So that's the only question I really have is just to make sure we're covered. And without having a map in front of me, did we get maps on that?
Yes, we had maps. We had an email with a map that showed some of this ground up on the 301 corridor.
That's what it should.
Right. Which you are right in the fact that some of that ground is not suitable I don't want to say not for anything, because it's always suitable for something, whether it's a frog or a turtle or something, but really some of our commercial and industrial ground is not, for as far as construction, is not suitable for that. And I don't know, I wasn't around when the previous zoning was done, but it was probably put that because no one else wanted it for residential or agriculture or anything else, so we'll make it industrial just because we need some. I struggle with this also with the way that Bob does, that we've got to look to the future, and I know there's been a lot of comment on this and whether data centers are really an ag industry or an ag business. I personally feel it is, and there's so much, anyone today who has, all the tractors and equipment are driven by electronics, your precision agriculture, all of them are running through a data center somewhere. It does not have to, that data center does not have to be in Kent County, but I feel that if that data center was on ag land, you're certainly supporting ag with it. We did take out Intense Village, which I don't believe there's much land left for Intense Village, if there's any left. We left Village in there because the Millington Elementary School site is zoned Village, and that could be a potential site for a data center. I have talked, I'm involved in agriculture, and I have talked to quite a few farmers, and to a one that I talked to, not a one was opposed to including ag in that. So I think there's a disconnect between sometimes what we hear in testimony and then what is actually felt by the rest of the people. And most of them, the suggestion I was thinking about was to make it a percentage of our ag land, and basically a small percentage. We have 134,000 acres of ag land at this point that is not preserved either by a reservation agreement or the state owns it. If we even put a half of 1% of that, it's 500 and some acres, which or 600 and some acres. Now, whether we really need that, I don't know. We are going to rewrite the rezoning. We're working on that process now, and by our target date is to be done by November of 2021. So we may have enough ground with what we have now. The other thing is, we do not have anyone who has contacted us wanting a data center at this point. There has been some information out there that the county is going to build a data center. The county is not building a data center. We are not in the business of, if we can fund building and repairing our schools and whatever else, we're happy. But, if some individual wants to come for a data center, we certainly want to entertain what they have. And it's like Bob says, we have to generate, we need to generate more revenue. And whether you're in agriculture or any other business in the county, we've got to pull together and realize that that's important for all of us to survive. And agriculture is not the agriculture of 50 years ago. Unfortunately, I feel sometimes we want to continue to think like the 1960s, even though we're living in the 2020s. So we have a motion. I don't know, Ronnie, if you have any comments you'd like to make? Or?
I'd just like to justify a little bit of why I made the motion I did. I think certainly in those four districts, and just like you point, look, I don't disagree with anything that either one of you said, and we're in this thing together, but nobody's beating on our door yet. Hopefully, this new zoning will be in place in the next year, year and a half. I think opening data centers up in these 4 districts will allow us to handle any that comes in the next year and a half. And because we're doing the rezoning, land zoned, industrial, commercial, whatever, to carry us through, or do we need to make some adjustments at that time and rezone, change some of the zoning in some of our ag land? But during the public hearing, and I think this is a good compromise to allow us to get started in marketing a data center or 2 and see where we go from there. See what the rezoning does at the end, and that will make up our mind then what we have to do.
I mean, I feel like Ronnie does. I don't disagree with anything anybody said. So I guess what it comes down to is, am I going to vote for the 1%, or do I go with the motion that's made? So, and I love Kent County. I mean, I live here because it's a farming community, and I like the boat, so I have the best of both worlds.
And if I could add one thing, the only other argument that I would give for this is, if by opening up ag, if we had to, I'd be right there. But if we don't have to, I think the one argument that somebody that has some of this land that's zoned industrial, commercial, employment center, I think maybe they're sitting on this hoping that we're going to get some type of business to take hold in Kent County. And to open up some of the ag land is kind of undermining these other zoning districts. So that's my motion. Allow it in these 4, then we'll re-examine it when we do our rezoning, and then we'll see where we go from there. But I'm convinced that there's enough land in these things, in these 4 districts, to carry us probably further than we even want to go.
Bill, do you think that way too? You think there's ample land?
I don't think we can hear you.
Can you,
Can you hear me?
Yes.
go ahead.
From the chart of all zoning districts, there's certainly ample land available for a data center in some of these districts. I think the question and the discussion has just been, right, are those going to be preferred sites for folks who are shopping? So certainly there's enough land, it's correctly zoned. When you specifically put in data processing centers, you're sending a message to everyone that you want those and that there's zoning districts available. Does that help?
So what he said was, I think, was that there is ample land out there. Now, whether it's going to be ample land for what they choose, but he still thinks there's ample land out there.
Right. Well, and I think the one thing is that, a data center, and whether it's a data center or whatever it is, they're going to come in and look, and they're going to choose where they want to build this. And if there was ag land and they said, no, we're not building any of it on there, but this industrial site would work. At the same time, if they took these 4 zoning districts that we're allowing, and they said, there's really not a site here that satisfies us, but this 5 acres of ag land here we could build on, I'd hate to lose that data center because we don't allow it in that ground. That doesn't mean that whoever owns that ag land has to sell it. I mean, if you want to preserve that land, ag land, the owner just doesn't sell it. That's pretty simple.
I don't want to take away the opportunity for a farmer if he wanted to sell his property for something different either.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I think we got hung up before on this 200 acres where we thought we were going to have a data center that comes in, take 200 acres and build a data center on it.
I don't even know if that's the case. I don't think they even used that.
No, I don't think that would.
That's why I just can't, for the life of me, believe that that those 4 zoning districts aren't ample. There's got to be ample marketplace, and it's really based around your towns and your. I mean, I think this is where you would want the things if you were lucky enough to get one or two
Right.
or whatever.
Well, and
Anyhow, that's mine.
yeah, and I think that's right. We'd want, they want water and sewer and the high-speed fiber. That's basically where we have it right now
Around towns.
around the towns.
And I do know that up in the northern part of the county, up in the 301 area, that's where we sort of rolled out the red carpet and said we're open for business, and there's some people that are looking to invest in those areas and try to attract this. I just feel confident that there's enough land in those 4 districts to accomplish what we want to do. And like I said, if it's not, in a year or so, we're going to be looking into this thing, and we'll know for sure. And that'll take the guesswork out of it. But this way, we don't do something that we're sorry for later down the road.
So we have 2 boards, and our planning and zoning pretty much said no to a lot of this, and our economic development said yes to all of this.
Right.
2 conflicting boards on top of our conversation.
Remember that the Planning Commission did review pieces of it favorably, but overall, it was an unfavorable recommendation on the entire bill.
And our planning and our economic development was 4 out of 5 yays for ag also included. The one person who said no was more or less steering it toward the 301 corridor, but she wasn't against it.
Right.
Which is what we kind of talked about it anyway.
I guess there's nothing that says if this company came in and said, we're looking to build a data center here, and they looked at the sites that we would now have available with this.
Stopping us from going through this whole thing again.
Right. Say this happened in the next 6 months, and they said, no, but we could build here, and it's ag zoned or zoned something else.
Spot zoning?
We could,
No.
we could,
No, you'd have to do just what
you'd
you
have a
do.
text amendment
You'd have
again,
to do another text amendment and do it, open it up
do-
for it.
right,
and allow it to
comment
go in
and
that.
all again.
Or pick out that percentage you've been talking about. You could do it that way. If these 4 jurisdictions don't work, but
Right.
And we could add a percentage later on down the line if something happened and this didn't work.
No, we would have to
well,
have
you
another
could,
text
you have to
amendment.
do a text amendment.
Text amendment.
So we could text amendment and a percentage down the road if we had to. That wouldn't be considered, that would not be considered spot zoning.
Remember, my
Well, the
experience.
text amendment would apply, the text amendment would have applied to the whole zoning district. You can't just make it apply to one parcel, but you could make it apply to the whole zoning district, but you could put certain limiting factors on there, as was suggested, that data centers could only take up so much of a percentage of the district where they could be limited. You could put some limitations there, but if you did a text amendment, it would have to apply to the whole district. It wouldn't apply just to a parcel.
Right.
If you want to change zoning with respect to a parcel, then you have to use the change mistake rule, or else it is spot zoning.
Well, no, I wasn't thinking that we would be looking at it for a parcel. And that's why I was thinking we'd have 0.5%, 600 acres, and that way we're not designating it anywhere. It could be,
And you can do that
You
at
know,
a later date if we find out.
we can do that at a later date,
If you find out
but
that this isn't
isn't it?
acceptable.
Right. But the whole thing with the text amendment,
Yeah.
our experience here has been,
Well, that's
what would we be, 9 months? Getting through it?
You could probably do it in 2 or 3 months.
Could we do it in 2 or 3 months, Bill, if we had to? I don't think Bill's hit this real well.
But the answer,
What's the fastest text amendment you've ever seen?
I'd have to look at the timeline. I mean, you would have to send it to the planning commission. There would be advertising deadlines.
They only meet
and
once a
first
month,
read,
and then you have to
second read.
advertise first read, second read.
I would
Right.
say.
But it's going to be 3 months, okay.
I think you
So
could
we-
streamline it 3 months, but the advertising requirements is you have to advertise it twice, at least two weeks out. 3 months, I think, would work.
All right, well, we've had discussion here.
Dead horse.
There's no need to continue to, I think we all have a little bit different ideas, which is what this is all about. I mean, that's why we have these types of things. So we have a motion, we have a second to the motion.
But before we vote, the bottom line is we all want the same thing.
Right, we all want
to try to attract a data center or two, because we do need some other types of employment.
Right.
And, so we all want to do the right thing.
It's just how to get there.
And in the right direction, I think.
We just,
Take it a little slower, and my bet is that it'll work fine for us, but that's just me, that's what I say.
Well, I don't think voting for it the way it was would work as well, but I think with what the motion is would work, and I also think if you put in
We have the ability to come back and
percentage
correct it if we want to.
that it would work without harming. I guess I don't feel it would harm those people that own that commercial or whatever ground, because it's all going to get, because the ag land's not going to be any cheaper. Everyone thinks that if you're going to build a data center on a piece of ag land, that you're going to buy the ag land for $8,000 an acre. Well, somebody needs to talk to that person before they go start negotiating, because that's not $8,000 an acre ground, even if it's in ag. I mean, it's just not. So I don't think, I don't know what ground for a data center would be worth, but I would imagine you're going to, well, I don't want to say what I might think, but, so I guess we've discussed it. We need, we have a motion, I guess. Are we at the point where we want to vote, or do we need?
well, give me a second, I'm still thinking. And I'm at like, is 1% important? And I understand Ronnie doesn't feel like it is, and I probably don't feel it, but I just don't want a big box in a corner, because we all want the same thing. It's just that how we're thinking about it.
Right. Well, and yeah, yeah, we all want the same thing. And hopefully everyone in the county wants the same thing and understands the perplexing part of all this. So I guess we're to the point we either we've got to take a vote here, or we'll sit here till,
I'm ready.
what they say, until the cows come home.
We're talking about farming too.
Or sometimes they don't come home till you go get them.
All right,
So I guess we're ready to vote. So all those I don't know if I'm ready to vote or not. I guess all those in favor of let's hear Sandra, do you have the motion there so we know what we're voting on? I'm putting you on the spot.
That's okay.
I mean, I can make it again.
Yeah, but it's going to have to be the same words.
Well, I'll make a motion that we put the language to allow for data centers in the industrial, commercial, employment center, and village zoning districts, so that we can start marketing for data centers. With the understanding that if we find out that it's not enough land in these four districts suitable for something like that we can always come back and expand it.
Expand it.
and I'll just second it again with some faith. With faith.
Hey,
Second before.
okay, we've had the discussion. I'm not going to ask for that again. So everyone in favor of that motion, say aye. All those opposed?
I'll say aye. I was looking at you. I was waiting for you. I say aye. Ronnie said aye.
So I'm saying no.
You always do that.
Well, no, but I like I say, I guess I feel strongly about a percentage.
I hear you.
And that's
I know where you're coming from.
I just, I may pay for that, I don't
I
know.
may pay for the fine.
I mean, you know,
I'm just going to,
Now that it's been a vote taken, and obviously it's 2-1, it's going to pass. Now the big thing is we got to go find one. Somebody's got a job to go solicit,
right.
work hard. And see if we can
let's just
figure
hope that there's not just enough land, but land that they're actually would like. And if not, then we got 3 months to change it again.
Well, we voted, so that's the way it is. So we're going on with the meeting. I mean,
That was honestly a very, very tough vote for me.
well, I could have voted. I could have voted with y'all, but I just want to leave that thought in there that
I understand
that-
completely.
All right. We'll let you back next week.
You don't need to apologize for that. I understand.
I'm not apologizing. But
No, I mean-
I just, you know,
We'll let you come back next week, Tom.
I'm involved in agriculture. I don't want to see land going into a lot of other things, you know, either, but I do think a data center is part of agriculture.
I hear you.
And I'll argue that with anybody. I've got data that shows it. We just need to, we're not going back to 110 dairy farms where you milked them with a surge milker slung under a cow, and you didn't need any electronics. All you needed was muscle. Well, that's not the way agriculture works today. Every one of these tractors that run around this county would quit if there wasn't a data center, or you'd never get them fixed. And they did quit. Okay, where are we here?
I need a motion to go out of legislative session.
Oh, that's right.
I'll make a motion to go out of legislative session.
Second.
All those in favor, say aye. Aye.
And President Mason, I'd like to intro the next section, if that's okay.
Hey, that'd be fine.
This is a new section on the agenda. This is called the Coronavirus Relief Fund. This is in response to the Coronavirus Aid, Relief, and Economic Security Act, otherwise known as the CARES Act. As you know, for the past several weeks, we have discussed at some level the CARES funding. Specifically, this is called the Coronavirus Relief Fund, the county funds. And as you know, we do have some money earmarked in the packet for certain efforts. And as those efforts are ready to be rolled out, they will come in front of you for approval, and that will be the trigger that gives approval for those parts of the funding being activated. And we do have a department head on the line with the help of another department head that would like to talk about the first phase of this that is going to be before you for implementation.
Okay. So, Rosie? Can you hear us?
Can't hear her.
We can't hear you.
Are you muted, Rosie?
We can see you, but can't hear you.
How about now?
Whatever you do.
All righty.
Yeah, it makes it work.
Hi, how are you? I'm going to try and screen share my proposal. So just tonight, I'm here just specifically to make sure that we're all on the same page about spending certain parts of our care budget on the feeding initiative. So as you know, the feeding initiative since about March 16th was really spearheaded by Social Action for Racial Justice. They started by really helping Kent County Public Schools expand their grab-and-go meals. And a couple weeks later, they started offering food delivery, mainly grocery delivery, to, oh wait, I haven't shared it though.
It's shared.
Can you see the
Yes.
slides? All right,
Yes.
great. And so since then they started delivering groceries, and up until this point it's been a delivery of groceries on Tuesday and Thursdays. Tuesdays, seniors, like 99% of the people on our list are seniors. There have been a few exceptions of like families that don't have another means to get out if they're in quarantine or there's other barriers, but it's mostly seniors. And they receive the shelf-stable items on Tuesday, and then they receive another bag of food on Thursday that includes some produce, bread, eggs, and maybe like a frozen protein. And then there was a period where we were actually able to provide a prepared meal as well. This group never intended to do this work permanently. And so early on, we started having conversations about what comes after June in terms of how this can work. And so this is where the CARES funding steps in. So to continue being able to provide delivered groceries, we are proposing to partner with a group called farmerswagon.org. They started as a solution to the farmers market. When the farmers market in Chestertown was unable to open, they provided like an online farmers market. So it works exactly the same as the regular one, except you just would go to a website, purchase what you wanted, and then this organization would take those orders and fulfill them and deliver them to your home. They're really interested on scaling up their charitable side. And so they have agreed to partner with the county if we would like to be able to continue providing those delivered groceries to everyone on our list currently through the end of the calendar year. And so right now, the list contains about 266 individuals, and that's in about 198 households. So it's 198 bags that are going out every week. And moving forward, that we would just do one delivery day a week, so the same quantity of food, the shelf stable and the fresh produce will be going out on Thursdays. The budget that I presented would be the shelf-stable items would come from the Maryland Food Bank that sells food at a much more reasonable rate, and that would cost about $2.50 a bag. For the shelf-stable items, it includes things like tuna fish, canned soup, canned vegetables, sometimes toilet paper, a variety of things that they're able to get through the Maryland Food Bank. And then on the other side would be the fresh produce and protein, and we are aiming to source as much of that as possible from local farms and vendors. So, lettuce from Red Acres, and other items like Langenfelder pork, etc. But when we aren't able to get all of that locally because our local vendors only have so much capacity, we can get it from companies like Teddy Bear Fresh and other regional providers. So the budget for continuing these deliveries includes costs to buy the actual food, but also includes a line item for space, because we won't be able to stay at the community center forever, as well as storage space. So for example, in the line item right now for space, we are actually considering leasing space at one of the options on the table, but it's not final by any means, is the old King Buffet at the Redner's shopping center, which would be a reasonable amount of a monthly rent, but it includes a walk-in freezer and a walk-in refrigerator, which would be a game changer in terms of food we would be able to store and distribute. And it would also be ideal in terms of not having to purchase that kind of equipment that, you know, a year from now or 2 years from now, we wouldn't necessarily know if we would permanently be able to use it. But it would also, the budget also provides mileage reimbursement for volunteers that are doing the delivery and some administrative support. If we're going to work with a group like Farmers Wagon, we would need to sole source this contract at this point, because for the past 3 weeks I've been working with groups like the 6 local pantries that we currently have in Kent County and Upper Shore Aging, having these conversations about how can we continue on with this model, and the options on the table with the other vendors would have radically changed the delivery structure. We would have been having to do something totally different. And if we work with a group like Farmers Wagon, then they really are the only option locally to continue the work as is, because social action, racial justice has to step out. That's not something that they can permanently or, you know, long-term continue to do. Are there any questions about this piece for the delivery piece?
What is FarmersWagon.org? I mean, is it a group?
It's a new organization. It's a nonprofit. So they submitted their nonprofit status or their application in late March. They are still pending, so that is not a final decision, but like it's something that just will. It's a matter of time before they're able to get all the paperwork. And it was initiated by a Kent County native, a person named Lyle Pinder. And so he went to Kent County High School and went out of county and has returned in the past like 2 or 3 years with his family and is working here. And he really wants to, you know, be part of this solution. And so the organization started as mostly like a retail middleman for people that want to be able to continue access to the farmers market, continue to be able to serve or support our local farmers. And so they are going to continue that element, but at the same time, it's like a social enterprise where like we have our paying clients, but the profit from the revenue that we generate from those paying clients and from outside donations sustains a charitable arm. So care packages and groceries for people in Kent County who wouldn't otherwise be able to access that food. And so their model just fits with what we are trying to accomplish through this feeding initiative during COVID. Does that answer your question?
Yes.
I got to be honest with you. This ain't cutting it for me. This I know nothing about this program or this. It's just I don't get.
You're not hearing what she's saying. You mean?
I can't follow what's being said when it's broken up like that. It's not. How much longer do we have to go before we could have? I mean, there's 6 of us in here. That's done. I guess I mean, how much longer is it going to be before we could have a couple of our department heads in here so I can hear what's being said? Because this ain't. I'm sorry, but it just don't. I'm having trouble following along.
Right.
And
well, particularly something like this, which
it's
probably
it's
important, and it's a little complicated.
It is a little complicated. When I miss pieces of it, I'm having trouble following, and I know I ain't the sharpest knife in the drawer, but this is making it difficult for me, and I apologize. I'm just not able to. It's not your fault. It's the way it's being transmitted, and I just haven't.
It's like all 3 of them have a little bit of lag tonight. And I know they're all on different internet systems, so is it us?
With one, I think it's a connectivity issue. I'm not sure what was going on with one. I heard Rosie pretty well.
Yeah, I could hear Rosie pretty well.
I just.
Now, it might just be an age thing, Ronnie. I don't know.
More than likely is.
And I say that, and I'm the oldest one here.
Look, my hearing.
Ronnie, can
There was a little bit of dropout, especially when Bill spoke. There was some dropout. The answer to the question, perhaps, if we had a presenter, they could come in and then leave when they're done, so we're under the 10-person limit. That may be an option.
Because I really want to hear what you got to say, and I'm interested in what you're talking about, but I missed a lot of that, and it probably is my age, but that's.
Ronnie, I'm just kidding.
can you
I couldn't.
in your packet? In your packet, do you have the complete budget with you?
I have that budget on our screen. Yes.
Yes.
See, mine
Okay.
doesn't open, or it opens up as an Excel sheet. Is it supposed to open up as an Excel sheet? Because just a minute ago, I had Excel sheets all the way across the bottom of my computer.
Right. When you download them, they go to the bottom, and then you click on them, and they come up.
Which is different from the normal ones that you just click on. The PDFs must just pop up without having them down below
It
it.
depends on how you're going into it. Mine always go to the bottom, and then I click on them.
Would it be putting you too far behind if you come in next week and set the audience and talk with us?
There is definitely a sense of urgency with this,
So,
but I would be happy to talk to you on the phone one-on-one too.
is this an item that we are voting on tonight?
Well, what we're trying to do is activate this line so we can move forward with spending the money.
Right,
So, yes,
right.
And I assume it's coming out of the county commissioner's half
that's correct.
versus the.
So
So is this a,
currently, what is being provided is coming to an end. They are transitioning out of this business. They were filling a gap. And Rosie has worked with a new nonprofit here in the county called Farmers Wagon that is willing to provide, we have very limited resource here in the county, but they're willing to provide a similar thing as to what's going on right now, so the disruption would be minimal. And maybe, Rosie, could you spend a couple minutes going over the budget, and maybe that will help?
Okay,
Have you looked at?
let me pull that up. I'm sorry.
so the budget this is the items that are listed here.
Yes.
Bob just dropped out on us. His leg went.
Potassium.
You all right?
I've
I've had them. Just bear with us a minute, Rosie.
It's all right.
I got it. This is brand new.
Brand new, okay.
So why I was trying to divide the budget into two pieces. The one piece is this delivery element, because that is so important for many of our seniors. Like, they just don't have the capacity to come out to a pantry or sit in their car and wait to drive through a pantry. It's too challenging. And so, but we want to be able, at least until through December, provide more options for people to get food. Because not only is there hunger, but there's also, like, if you can relieve people's grocery bill, then they have more funds for paying their rent or paying for electricity or other needs, right? And so one element is the delivery, and the other element are these mobile pantries. The mobile pantry is a model that the Maryland Food Bank uses, where they bring in the truck of food, we offload it at a church or at another site, like the community center. We box it up into packages, like per household, because they bring that food in on pallets, right? And then we break down the pallet, put it into the boxes, and then the cars line up and we put it in everyone's trunk. And it's very minimal. It's very, it's a one-day event. You have the Maryland Food Bank come in, you have your volunteers help break it up and distribute it, and then everybody's done. You don't need storage. You don't need any other, infrastructure. And so our goal is to provide a mobile pantry somewhere in Kent County every week. Right now, there's a mobile pantry somewhere in Kent County twice a month. So Mount Olive and Wharton has a pantry once a month, and then Chestertown at the Seventh-day Adventist Church and Millington at Asbury Church, they alternate month to month of when they do their mobile pantry. And so using CARES funding, Millington and Chestertown and Mount Olive will continue their budget, but we can do one in Rock Hall or Galena or Fairleigh, and we'll just keep that schedule going around so that everyone who has the means to get out in a car and pick up food can have access to it. And then for those who don't have that capability, they can rely on this delivery model that we want to do with the farmer's wagon. So the first line on that budget in the Excel sheet is for the pantries on the go, and that's only for $3,200. That's because it's only $200 from the Maryland Food Bank every time you do one. It's incredibly affordable because people get like a 30-pound box of half produce, some juice, some milk, and some eggs, and some frozen chicken or beef, etc. It's a very clean box.
Listen, I don't know about if it's. I certainly don't want to hold this up because I'm having trouble deciphering it. But if you're good with, I'm good with implementing it. If you'll come in next week and explain to us what you're doing.
All right.
I've got my vote to move forward with it. And then next week you can come in and tell us how you're making out.
Are we okay with the CARES funding for this?
Yes, it's been fully vetted and all the pieces meet the criteria.
And I know we're thinking about some other places where we're spending money. What I don't want to do is promise people stuff and then all of a sudden we find out we promised more money than what we have.
And this is almost exactly within the budget that we budgeted for this type of event.
Okay. Well, I'm certainly fine with it.
And I'm good with it too. And if you just come in next week and sit in the audience and tell us about how you're making out. How about that?
Okay. All right. The other item I wanted to mention though was about the CDBG funding. The way we plan on spending that, since most of our feeding money is, allocated within this bucket, the CDBG funding is going to focus more on rental assistance. And then we also want to provide some extra support to Upper Shore Aging to expand their Meals on Wheels.
So to be clear,
because those are actual.
The CDBG money is also CARES money. It's just a different piece of the CARES money. And that's why, from this point forward, it's probably better if instead of just saying a blanket CARES money, we call the county portion Coronavirus Relief Fund or CRF funding, and then the CDBG is a different pot of money that we actually have to apply for, and that's what Rosie's talking about.
Okay.
Okay. And so they're just
And
asking for permission to apply for it?
So you want our permission to apply for it? Or?
No, well, that was the statement that we read earlier about the community development block grant.
Oh, okay.
And so I just wanted to give you an idea that next week we will be coming in and talking in more detail about that application.
Okay.
Very good.
Yep.
But to give you, it's going to include Meals on Wheels at Upper Shore Aging, also funding for Movable Feast, which provides meals like diet-specific meals for people who have really complex health issues like renal failure or heart conditions or chronic diabetes, etc. So that would be something we coordinate with the health department and rental assistance. because as the moratorium on rent lifts, we're going to see a big surge of folks needing to pay those bills.
Well, I think we're all in tune with what you're talking about. And, I mean, Bob's not here at the moment, but I think you have our blessing to go ahead and proceed with
All right.
with all that.
Okay.
I would
And
like-
we're working with Shelley to ensure that our procurement processes are up to standards in terms of how we're doing that. With the community development grant, we're working with a consultant who is doing the same work with Talbot County, and we are planning on kind of writing that contract and procurement process to be able to be all,
To
not
be
sure
square
the
with
term,
procurement.
but
So,
compliant.
right, so we need to use a consultant to apply for that grant, just to get all the pieces lined up. Somebody is already doing that for other jurisdictions and have competitively bid, and that's how they're using her. So we can ride that contract, and the CARES funding can be used to pay for that.
Okay. Well, I think that sounds
So
good.
if Rosie and Bill have your blessing to move forward with basically getting the help of that consultant, that would be good.
Do we need a motion for that, or?
That'd be great, just to have it official.
Yeah.
And I would just do for the, for everything that Rosie so far has presented. So I would officially, now that Bob is rejoining,
You all right?
You all right? You sit back down, you'll get another cramp.
a motion for the food security portion of the CRF CARES funding, and a motion for the consultants to apply for the CDBG funding.
So you make that motion, Bob will, right now, Bob will, he'll second anything.
Consultant, security, is that what you said? Security, food security, and a consultant.
Sorry.
I'll make a motion that we approve the food security and the consultant,
For CARES funding.
portion of the CARES fund.
Second that.
Any other discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Okay, Rosie, before you do this, and we had talked about this a little bit, I'm talking now to Ronnie and Bob, but I did take it on myself to order 500 pounds of butter that we're going to get, and then we as commissioners want to donate that to the county, either through
Amazing.
a food handout, or if it's best to just give it to you all and let you hand it out. We haven't decided how we want to do that yet, I don't think. But it'll be an effort that we're going to do as commissioners to support the program here in the county. I'm able to get
Because
land.
we have had just kind of community giveaways that have been very successful. We'll have like 500 people come to pick up a pizza kit that has a pizza shell, the sauce, the cheese, and we say, we'll give you the pizza, you provide the movie. And cars line up and pick that up, and that's been successful. But butter is also something that's very easy to distribute to our local pantries and to the feeding initiative. We can put a pound in with each delivered bag, and then that ensures that we get it out to all the folks on our list. And we would be able to clear that out within 1 or 2 weeks.
Right. Well, I mean, I don't care how we do it, really. I don't depend on what. But we thought maybe if I guess I don't want to have this and then no one come, but if we had, say, a certain date, we'll have this butter, and you come drive by, and we give a pound of butter to every adult in the car, and then if there's any left, you could take it and use it we do it at the community center or something like that. There is a date, June the 24th, which is when the butter comes. So
Okay.
we would either have to do it that day or have somewhere where we can put it that has refrigeration. I think we would be all right. You know, I was going to go, I would have to go to Quarryville, Pennsylvania to get it. I think it comes in at 10 o'clock, and then you come back, so it'd be sometime in the afternoon. I mean, we can work that logistics out, you know, later. But I'm able to get that butter through Land O'Lakes at a cheaper, and it works out to, I think it's 36, they come in a 36-pound box, and it's $67.68 a box, which is $1.87 a pound. So that's pretty cheap butter, I think. We don't buy butter in the stores. So.
I think it's $5 or $6 a pound, probably.
You're lucky
But
to
it-
get it on sale for $2.50.
But it's in the Land O'Lakes, you know, carton that they make of it. I had spoke to you before about that.
Yes.
And I hadn't gotten back to you because I was trying to get the logistics of how to make it work with them. But they have this program every 2 months. I think it's every 2 months. We as members of Land O'Lakes, we can order butter. I mean, and you know, we usually only get one case, or depending on what you need it until they do it again. But we're getting, I think it's 14 cases I ordered for this program. So we'll figure all that out at a later date. We still have time.
And by the end of June, we'll be, because we're going to stay at the community center in Wharton until about the 15th or 16th of June. And then we're hoping to transition to a new location. So whether that's another temporary location like the American Legion in Betterton, or a leased space like the former King Buffet, we'll have to let you know where we end up.
Yeah, okay. Well, that sounds great, and we thank you for everything you're doing to help the community, and
Thank you.
thank you. Thank you.
All right. Have a great evening.
Okay. Let me
5 minutes.
see.
This was like a child horse in the leg. All those things.
I was ready to call 911.
This is my third day in a row doing over 11,000 steps. Probably should have cut some back before I came in here tonight.
Every year when I was working on the water, we'd go, and we working pedals all day long. So I got used to it every year when I first started, and I still get it to this day. Wake you right up in the middle of the night.
Are you two done having physical problems? I don't know. I'm the oldest one here. I'm the one that's supposed to be having
He's
physical
just
problems.
sitting there thinking they don't make them like we used to.
No, not really. I'm liable to have a Charlie horse in a minute. Mr. Mackey, you're on again here for, let me see what you're on for. This is the
Yes, sir.
priority letter.
Yes, sir. So every year around this time, usually it's in April, the county sends a letter to MDOT expressing its wishes for the priority project for MDOT to undertake in the county. This year, I was contacted in April by MDOT, and they said, we don't really expect people to be able to get this to us by April, so whenever you get it to us, that's fine. There's a number of projects every year that the county asks for. This letter includes all of those projects and also includes two other descriptions. One is the request from the letter for the town of Millington. I believe they submitted a formal letter to you that you accepted at your last meeting. That language is now included in the letter. And also there's language from Cecil County's letter. I reached out to Cecil County and Queen Anne County, and Cecil County had suggested that we both utilize similar language for the US 301 toll diversion issue, where traffic is being diverted from Delaware on the local road. So language has been put together. It's similar to Cecil County's for your review, and staff would request your approval of this letter to be sent to MDOT. Thank you.
Yeah.
Every year, we have to submit this letter, and it just tells MDOT what our priorities are.
But yeah, and obviously, Tom's had a lot of discussion about this issue up there on the Cecil County line going into Middletown, and I had a good time. Because that's when the transportation group will come here and talk with us. There hasn't been a date set for that yet at the show.
It's usually late September, early October, and I don't believe that's been set yet, has it?
Yeah.
I mean,
Probably
this,
don't even know how they're gonna do it yet.
especially with the state government, they're not really planning meetings at this point.
Well, Cecil County's letter doesn't say anything about Sassafras Caldwell Road or Edgar Price Road, so that's evidently is not a priority to them. Which this is not, I guess, according to this, is not public. But can we send a letter to them to suggest this letter they're sending to David Slater to say we still need something done there? Because I'm really getting concerned about all this traffic. I talked to Alan Davis again today, and he said it's just, they sit at their end of their lane sometimes trying to get out on the road. There's that much traffic.
And these are all county roads.
These are our county roads, but what really disturbs me is when I go up there and hear Cecil County's got their detour sign pointing towards us and detouring their traffic onto our road.
So you're talking about when you go into town of Sassafras, you turn toward Delaware Lake East.
Yes.
Yes. Well, even off of 301, if you were going up 301 and where everybody gets off to go to Warwick turns to the left, well, you could have turned to the right and go up Edgar Price Road, but now there's a detour sign there that detours them back into the town of Sassafras, then detours them onto our road, then detours them onto Maryland Line Road and on up into Middletown. And in the same way, if you're coming the other way, which it just disturbs me that a county can
Detour to somebody else's county.
right onto somebody else's road.
I might suggest that we make, whether Tom does it or want to get somebody from the air district state highway office, some engineer or something, and maybe Danny Voschel if he's up to it. And the three of us ride up there and take a look at it, and maybe they give us some suggestions of how we ought to handle it.
Well, you know how I would handle it? Want a suggestion?
Go ahead,
I
Tom.
don't have to blow it up then.
No, we're not going to blow it up.
Close off our road
We're going to put a sign on our road.
and detour to their road.
No, we're not going to do that. We're going to make some money. We're going to put a sign there that says local traffic only. And then we're going to we're going to ask Sheriff Price to send a deputy up there occasionally. And anybody that's on that road with a Delaware tag or someone that, it doesn't have to even be a Delaware tag, it could be a Maryland, periodically stop them. If you don't have a license that has an address on that road, then you'll get fined. I mean, is that,
I don't even know if you can do that.
why can't you do that?
I don't know the law.
You run into some constitutional issues.
What's that, attorney?
It's not correct.
What? You'll get us out of jail, won't you?
Constitutional issues.
That's why I don't know. And
Yeah,
I'm not
you
sure.
can't stop people at random. I mean, you could do local traffic only and check everybody coming in, but that's really not feasible to do. I think local traffic only might discourage people, or you change the road from being a through road like Cecil County did. To me, the solution is there has to be some coordination with Kent County, Cecil County, and Newcastle County, Delaware, or with Delaware Department of Transportation. I mean, Delaware Department of Transportation set all this in motion by not having a last exit before toll. The simple solution is just having an off-ramp onto Old 301 right at the state line. That's the simple solution, and that would solve it immediately, but unfortunately, the only state that can do that is Delaware.
Right. Well, and it appears they don't really care, except they did give Cecil County $2.6 million to pave, and they used that money to pave Sassafras Caldwell Road going off of 301, and then to pave the other road where you turn in the middle of Warwick and go right.
Right.
I can't remember. I was just on it today.
That's Warwick Road, I think. I know the road you're talking about.
I can't think. Williams Road, I think it is. Williams Road, which they could have used that 2.6 million to spend it on Edgar Price Road and made it much better, but they said it would take 5 to 6 million to do it, so they weren't going to spend it there. But
it didn't cost them much to put a sign up there to direct them onto one of our county roads.
Well, I've been tempted to take that sign down.
To let you know, there has.
I don't
been a
recommend
response.
that either.
Well, there's been a response, and I read the response, but it was kind of like, we don't care.
The response was, we'll look at it in a year.
Yeah, we'll look at it in a year, and meanwhile,
This is what, we're not
Yeah.
doing anything.
I mean, they did a traffic study on that road, and we could check with Danny on that last fall, and I think Alan had checked with him, and there was something like 900 vehicles on that road or something. I mean, it was some for a road that's out here in the middle of nowhere. Which it's not a problem today. I don't think in tearing, the road isn't tore up, but eventually we're going to spend money fixing that road. I mean, it just stands to reason. But I don't know why Cecil County didn't ask us or tell us that we're going to do this and we have to find out on our own. I mean, the appropriate thing to have done would have been to said, hey, we've got a problem on Edgar Price Road. We're on a detour, traffic going to you. Do you really have a problem with it? And we could have said yes, and they said we're going to do it anyway, but at least we'd have known what they're doing. But I think in their letter there, they don't even mention Edgar Price Road.
In their transportation letter?
And read their transportation letter.
Right, I don't think they do by name.
No, they talk about
Continue coordination with DelDOT in the operations of 301. Stepped up enforcement of truck weight limits along the 213, Maryland 213 and US 222, 301.
But they don't talk about, they talk about the US 213, US 40 intersection, Belvedere Road, the 195 interchange, US 40. I mean, they're all, and I know where all these places are, having lived there for part of my life. Wyden 222 and Maryland 272 to 4 lanes. Good night. They've been widening 272 to 4 lanes for 60 years. About as long as we've been trying to get a new bridge. So I don't think that'll ever happen. I don't see any. The only thing, like Shelley said, one thing there was, what was it? US 301 toll diversion countermeasures. Well, they took care of that. They detoured them to our road.
No, just keep in mind that our priority letter is to our Department of Transportation, and we have said continued coordination with DelDOT in the operations of US 301. I mean, we need MDOT on our side for this because they're not listening to Kent County, Maryland. We need the weight of MDOT behind us with their conversations with DelDOT and stepped up enforcement of truck weight limits of people trying to divert off of.
That's why one thing I would give the state highway, they know how to handle traffic and stuff, and I thought maybe you take them up there and show them what we're concerned about. Maybe they can give some recommendations of how to move forward.
Don't you think they already know this?
Well, they probably do, but if you don't raise, they probably taking the thing, they don't say nothing, we're not going to do anything either, so.
And I don't know if these truckers all know when they're there, because I was just up there today, and there were 2 tractor trailers behind me when I came out of Williams Road, and there was 3 of them coming through Warwick. Now, they were all avoiding paying the toll. And I know, now they didn't turn to go on the Sassarus Codwell Road. What they did, they kept on going and went through Cecilton. And I know what they'd have said if they got stopped. Oh, I have delivery in such and such. And then maybe they did. You know, I don't know. Maybe there really was a delivery. We're back on 301 and they saved themselves $20 or something.
Yeah. Yeah, you're probably right.
I mean, it's pretty, one guy said it cost him $33 to go through there. This rate,
So,
it's terrible, isn't it?
Priority letter, and
We're supposed to vote on this?
I believe Bill is looking for.
Oh, Bill, you still there? We're sorry, we got all rant and raving here.
Yes, sir.
He needs your approval.
Okay.
now, to back up, you said that you thought maybe some of the things on here weren't on here, like.
Well,
paying
that's
the price
Cecil
rate.
County's letter, which we don't have anything to say on. Only thing we could do is, on that part, is send Cecil County a letter and say, hey, can't you mention Edgar Price Road in your comments? But I don't even know we could mention Edgar Price Road because it's not our road.
Right, and it's a county road, so the state really has no.
Yeah, it's a county road, so the state doesn't care either. All right, so let's see, proposed letter for approval.
Ian's not done any of these were done last year, maybe we should have, no, just go west one second time around. Any of them was done.
Usually our letter is pretty much the same year over year because it's very rare they listen to Kent County anyway, so our priorities don't change much.
That one about the Chester River Boulevard, been on here no longer than I've been around.
Yeah, so,
They were talking about that when I first was elected.
So we should just make a motion to approve the letter since it's not going to
That's what staff recommendation.
change a whole lot anyway.
yeah. What's this, Butlertown and Morton, Maryland's Route 298 and 290, sidewalks, drainage improvements, and traffic calming. What are we calming there?
They've always wanted sidewalks down Butlertown.
The speed? Well, it's already 30, so what do you want?
People like to speed through there. So traffic calming is, for example, depending on the shoulder width, it kind of signals to the car whether or not they should go fast or slow. Or if you have a bump out with a little flower garden, they know that they can't fly through there.
Well, I wouldn't fly through there anyway, as much as there's cops sitting in Morton, unless you know them. I mean, that's where they spend a lot of time there. I'm not saying they shouldn't. Okay, so we need a motion to approve this letter. Is it-
Make a motion that we approve the last year's letter again this year.
Second.
Any other discussion? I hope not. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All right. Thank you, Bill.
Thank you.
Next is Pat again, right?
Pat, you're up again.
Okay, I have 2 quick things.
Thought you'd be out of here long before now, didn't you?
Okay, so the first item is the Mako OPEB Trust. So, back in 2009, we joined an OPEB trust for other post-employment benefits with Queen Anne's County, Queen Anne's County Library, Queen Anne's Board of Education. And at this time, Queen Anne's County, who's been managing the trust, would like to dissolve it and move its assets to the Mako OPEB Trust. All of the other participants have agreed to move their money out, so we would like to do the same. So at this time, we're recommending transferring the Kent County OPEB Trust assets of $665.74 to the Mako OPEB Trust. And I think you have all the documents attached there, but,
And
There will need to be a $500 fee out of contingency approved for the establishment of the,
yes.
so where's the $500 going?
So we have to pay the trust for the setup. So when we join, there's an administrative fee to join, and they have to set up accounts for us, and so there's some overhead involved.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve the transfer of Kent County's OPEB trust assets to the Mako OPEB trust and approve $500 out of contingency. Trust setup expenses.
Is there any other discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye. Aye.
Okay, and I have one additional item that it was not included in your Novus. It's kind of an emergency situation. We have a printer that prints our accounts payable checks and our payroll checks. And it's on its last leg. We've had, the last 2 times we've printed checks, we've had somebody come in and they're telling us that this printer is just not long for this world. So we need to replace it. We got a price quote from ACOM, who is our current vendor. This has to be coordinated with our HD software, so we have to use the same vendor. To replace the printer is going to cost $2,279.80. So I'd also like to ask for approval for that money out of contingency.
Print fancy checks, because I print checks every day, and my printers don't cost anywhere near that.
Well, this one has your signatures, so when we print the checks, you don't have to sign them, so it has and it coordinates with our software. It is a laser printer.
Print checks too, and it's.
And
That wouldn't work, would it?
if the printer fails, we'll be signing checks. So,
I think I did that once. I thought, what?
we were afraid we were going to have to press you into service this week, but we did get it to work. But honestly, it's failing, and we have to have it
I
replaced.
don't think this one's
I'll make a motion that we permit you to go and get contingency fund, hit the contingency fund for the $2,200 for the printer.
Okay.
Seeing how we don't want Tom coming in here every day, I'll second it.
he'll have cramps in his hands.
Yeah, I'd be sitting next to you, so I appreciate it.
And just to be clear, the first item that Pat presented does include a resolution, and
Yes.
this would be Resolution 2020-06, a resolution to authorize the adoption and establishment of a non-benefits trust. So part of the recommendation is to approve and sign the resolution.
Oh, we transferred the money and approved the resolution, right?
Well, the motion didn't specifically include the resolution, so I just think we need a separate motion to
So there's an.
sign.
All right. Well, no.
Vote on the
Well, now, wait
printer
a minute.
first.
Let's finish this one.
You
We haven't voted
want
on
to
this
approve
printer.
the resolution.
Oh.
You want to vote on the resolution itself. You should take a vote approving the resolution itself.
Okay, but we've got to vote on this
And
printer
I got a
first.
second, so just,
Second. Any other discussion? If not, everybody say aye. Aye.
And what's the number of the resolution?
20,
2020-06.
20?
-06.
Show six.
06. I make a motion that we approve resolution 20-2006.
second. Close enough.
That wasn't quite right.
2020-06, second.
06.
Second.
20-20.
Yeah.
So we want to. Okay, you second it?
I'll second.
Any other discussion? If not, everybody in favor say aye. Aye.
We don't need a motion for the adoption agreement. There's 2 documents they need to sign tonight.
We can be very precise, and the approval of the motion was to move forward, so to be precise, and the approval of the adoption agreement would be desirable.
This is another motion. Okay.
Sorry, there's so much paperwork involved in this.
This is an adoption agreement by and between.
I don't even know where it is.
It's the,
So this is Pat's item.
So it's,
from the bottom.
yes, the two on the bottom are what you'll be signing tonight.
Well, we've passed the one on the bottom.
Right.
The one at the bottom or second from the bottom?
The second from the bottom is the one we need a motion for now.
The adoption agreement.
So make a motion to approve the Maryland Association of Counties pooled OPEB trust fund adoption agreement.
Yeah. Any other discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye. Aye.
Okay, thank you very much. That's all I have this evening.
All right, well, thank you. Okay, Jamie Williams, you still there?
Good evening, I'm still here. Okay. Good evening, commissioners. So I have, I hope, an easy request. So the Kent County COVID-19 Small Business Emergency Grant Fund launched on May 7th and was open through May 15th. We received 129 applications once the duplicates were addressed. So 78 applications have been qualified and approved for funding. There are 7 remaining that we are still attempting to qualify, and actually I need to change that. 3 of those have been qualified, so I have 4 more that we're working on. The revolving loan fund had enough to cover 75 of the 85 applications that we expect to qualify. And we understand that the desire of the county commissioners was to fund all the applicants that qualified. So the request is to approve $10,000 be added to the COVID-19 Small Business Emergency Grant Fund from contingency.
So moved.
Second.
Is there any other discussion?
Yeah, the only thing I want to say is, Jamie, I don't know about my colleagues, but I can tell you that I have, they didn't call me, but I've run into 4 or 5 people that have said, we received that check from the county and it couldn't have come at a better time. So nobody's getting rich, but I know it helped the ones that received it, at least some of them really appreciated it. It was a good program.
I agree.
Yeah, I had a couple of people stop me and pretty much say the same thing.
Yeah.
It, didn't make them rich, but it helped them out with a couple bills.
I had one say it helped make their truck payment.
There you go.
I mean, just anything I think is helping people at this time.
And I did include,
Go ahead.
I'm sorry, I did include some of the thank yous because we received a lot of thank yous through email, so that was included in your packet. I removed the names, but I thought it was nice for you to know how much it was appreciated, so thank you very much.
I guess it would be appropriate maybe when this is all done, a list of the businesses that we helped. Is that?
Yeah.
I think it'd be interesting to. I mean, when you get these others all vetted or whatever, I mean,
That would be nice. Yeah.
in one of the meetings.
They know that we were able to help.
Yeah.
So there was 85.
Yeah, we can absolutely.
You think there will be 85 approved, so you're requesting an additional $10,000. And
That is correct.
And that'll come out of contingency, I assume. Yeah.
Right.
Correct.
Yeah.
So,
we need a motion to that effect.
Motion to hit the contingency fund for $10,000 to finish the, make sure we have enough money to make payment to all 85 applicants as well.
I'll second it.
Kent County COVID-19 Small Business Emergency Grant.
Right.
Right.
And a second, is there any other discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Okay, thank you, Jamie.
Thank you.
Okay. April.
Good evening. How are you guys?
Good.
Okay, so tonight I have an amendment with Tyler Technologies. You signed an agreement with them on August 22nd, 2019. Tyler Technologies took over our timekeeping, which is ExecuTime, from a company called Central Square. Tyler Technologies is now hosting our data on their cloud. We were supposed to get this project started and completed by December 31st. The project was delayed due to Tyler Technologies building out our website. Our website wasn't migrated until Tyler Technologies Cloud until March 11th of this year. Central Square paid for our contract up until May 31st. So that puts our current contract on, it's not on a fiscal year. So what we've done is we're asking for 1 month to pay Tyler Technologies for this year, and then our contract will start on July 1st, so we'll be on a fiscal year schedule.
There's not a dollar amount on here, is it?
It's 13, or
Yeah, we're going.
So they're only billing us for 1 month
20.
this year.
The expense request is $1,320. Is that correct?
That's correct. Currently, we have budgeted $16,200 for this year, but because we're only really, we only need to pay for 1 month. They're going to bill us for 1 month, which is $1,350, and then the contract will start again on July 1st, and that'll be back at the $16,100.
That'll be the budgeted amount.
Correct.
Yeah. It's 1320.
Make a motion to approve the amendment with Tyler Technologies.
Second.
Is there any other discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Myra.
Good evening.
Marty, we don't want
So
you yet.
tonight,
Myra?
So
Marty, we
yes?
don't want to see you yet.
We still don't see Myra.
you can see me, right?
No, we can't see you.
There was the delay with my showing up. So my camera's on. I think it's going to come on. It did earlier. I don't know what's going on with it, but do you want me to go ahead?
Yeah, we can
And
hear you.
hoping
Go
that
ahead.
it will pop in.
We know it's you.
Okay. So tonight, I wanted to give you an update. Hopefully, I can be brief, just on the operations of the department since the COVID-19 health crisis. First, I'll update you briefly on the community center being used as a meal distribution location. Then I will share with you briefly some information about our public use of Fetterson Beach and Horton Park and the monitoring that's going on. And lastly, I will talk with you about a recommendation for pool operations for the summer season. So regarding the meal operations at community center, our role has been to provide the community center just to make it available for the initiative and to coordinate the use between the organizations. Primary organizations, which you've been made aware of on multiple occasions, was the Social Action Committee for Racial Justice and the Kent County Backpack Program. As Rosie mentioned earlier, Social Action Committee, they are transitioning out and they have a sustainability plan to bring in Farmers Wagon, who they started their role in the initiative on June the 1st. We also have the backpack program that is supplementing the meals that Kent County Public Schools distributes as far as the breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Kent County Public Schools took over the meal distribution piece as of May the 26th. So over the rest of this week into the following week, the distribution efforts will continue as they have been, but with Farmers Market transitioning in and Social Action Committee transitioning out. After June the 12th, the senior piece of it, which Farmers Market has taken over, there will be no additional use that I'm aware of. There could be a couple day run over, but essentially shortly after the 12th of June, then the only operations for the meal distribution at the community center will be the meals distributed by Kent County Public Schools, and then supporting that with weekend meals is the backpack program. There'll be a 2-week break where there won't be any meal distribution, so Kent County Public Schools can kind of give their staffing a break and kind of regain their footing, and then they will come back on site on June the 29th 9th, and they'll do their operations through August the 20th. During that time, they'll only be in the community center Monday through Thursday. The backpack program will also be on site, distributing that weekend package on Thursdays as well. Not knowing when the community center will open back up to the public and programs will resume, after June the 12th, the backpack program will transition into our meeting room, and if and when we resume our program operations, we'll be able to do that without interruption to that meal distribution initiative throughout the remainder of the summer. So essentially, that's what's been going on with the meal distribution at the community center. Again, our role was just to provide the building and coordinate the use among the organizations that are doing the direct providing of the meals. Any questions about the meal distribution at the community center?
No.
Okay. All right, so next I'll give you a brief update on public use of county parks, which includes Betterton Beach. So since May the 18th, we have been monitoring use of both Betterton Beach and Wharton Park with the executive order put into effect just before that date. Parks were permitted to be open with some limitations as far as some of the amenities not being permitted for public use. And then there's some other CDC guidelines recommended for playgrounds to remain closed and, coordinating off some of the sports courts that would encourage gathering and things like that. So as of May the 8th, we've actually lifted some of those restrictions to open up some of these sport courts. We still have restrictions in place for organized team sports and activities, especially those that have the high contact. In Wharton Park, we normally have not monitored public use, but because of the nice weather, people have been inside so long, and just because we, as a county, need to ensure people are following social distancing on county property. So the use has been pretty good in Wharton. We're averaging anywhere from 50 to 75 people just through visual count with staff that are monitoring use of Wharton Park. And we haven't had, any issues there. The pavilions are closed to the public right now, so picnic tables have not been out for public use. So things are going well in Wharton Park. We're not monitoring the other parks just because those are smaller community parks, whereas Wharton's the largest regional park. Moving on to Betterton Beach, as you know, over the past several years, there has been issues with overcapacity, with crowding, with the limited parking. And in last year's budget, the position was approved to us to monitor Betterton Beach. Unfortunately, we weren't able to attract someone to fill the position. We were able to attract 2 people to assist in the role of monitoring the beach. COVID-19 has, changed things a little.
Oh, shoot. That's not what I want you to do.
Hold up, Myra.
Myra can't hear us.
I know. That was my bad.
So I do have a couple of, while we're, oh, okay.
Well, we're still live.
Can you all still hear?
Got to get everybody.
We have
You're
it, Myra.
going
Sorry,
out.
we lost you for a moment.
Lost you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, and that was on our end, not your end.
You guys are muted. Your microphone is muted.
Yep, hold on.
Yeah,
Give me a sec.
Okay, I think I hear you now.
Okay, that was us. We dropped you by accident.
Okay. So down at Betterton Beach, we've been monitoring social distancing. We do have some restrictions in place that only allow Kent County residents to use the beach. At this time, there's basically no camping out for long periods of time. There's no picnics permitted with food being brought on site or prepared on site, no tables, no tents, no blankets, no chairs. The primary purpose is for people to get out, get some fresh air, maybe do some exercise, enjoy the beach, stay for a little while, and then transition out, and then other people can come in, and that would, of course, keep a minimum on any crowding that could potentially be the case. We got some negative feedback initially because of the policies, but overall things are going well. We have seen some pretty high numbers as far as utilization, and I'll just share with you what the numbers were over Memorial Day weekend. Over Memorial Day weekend, we had on that Saturday 230 people at Betterton Beach. On that Sunday, 172 people, and on that Monday, 253. Now, these are all Kent County, local Kent County residents. We do have staff that are requesting proof of residency at the beach. And just to give some perspective as far as the number of people who are not local that have attempted to utilize the beach, just from this past weekend, the 30th, 31st, and June 1st. On Saturday, the 30th, we had 153 people utilize the beach. There were 25 cars that, they could not produce proof of local residency, so they were turned away and not admitted to use the beach. On that Saturday, the 31st, cooler day, only 64 people, but 23 cars were turned away because they could not provide proof of local residency. And then on Monday, June the 1st, which was just yesterday, 47 people, and there were 17 cars turned away as well, just yesterday. So the decision to only have the beach open for local Kent County resident use was determined with input from Kent County Sheriff's Office, Sheriff Price, the Town of Betterton, Town Council and Town Administrator, Parks and Recreation, the Health Department, and then the county with Shelley, of course, representing the county commissioners during those meetings when those decisions were made. Considering previous to COVID, we didn't have any restrictions on use of the beach for non-Kent County residents. And we certainly realized that and knew that out-of-county folks coming to the beach, there were a lot of issues just because of the sheer numbers, the volume, but also because we didn't have the Betterton Beach Monitor. Now that we have the Betterton Beach Monitor in place, we certainly still have those large numbers because I truly believe that more local residents are coming because they know it's not going to have the overcrowding issues because we're not allowing out-of-county residents to utilize the beach. So that's my updates on the parks as far as Betterton and Wharton Park. Did you have any questions related to Betterton Beach?
No, I don't. I mean, it sounds to me like it's working.
As the weather warms up, it's probably going to be,
The water's pretty cold.
And to keep it in mind, to date, we've basically been following the state guidance. We can be more restrictive, we can't be less restrictive. We were following what they were saying. And as things loosen up, of course, that'll be more of our decision.
Right. Are the people you're turning away, are you getting much pushback?
Well, if they're complaining that, we came all this way, we didn't know your policies, and for whatever reason, when they're Googling Betterton Beach, they're not landing on our website that has all the information and policies, the special COVID-19 policies related to public use of Betterton Beach. So their pushback is, well, your website doesn't say that. Well, they've never made it to our website. So we can't control that they're not getting to the right owner of the beach to get the correct information.
But our website, does it say it's open to local residents only?
Yes, it does.
It does,
but
okay.
But for some of the people, they're just not landing on the correct website.
Well, that's not our fault.
Sometimes,
I agree.
Sometimes it's hard to navigate our website, and we were thinking about putting on our frequently most asked questions on the front page, and it's eventually, I don't know if we put any of them on our front page yet.
No, we were working on that project prior to coronavirus, and IT has been pretty busy.
Okay, I do have a question.
And certainly,
go ahead.
So we certainly don't know how long, this is going to last as far as the current restrictions that are in place. But And I certainly am not asking for any type of, decision now, but I certainly think that what we have in place right now is working. And although when restrictions are lifted, people will be able to, lay out on the beach and stay for longer and bring food and prepare food and things like that. But I definitely would encourage there to be strong consideration to keep the policy in place for local Kent County resident use, just because even though we have the park monitor, we will get the overcapacity issues. They will return when those restrictions are lifted, if we lift it to no longer exclude non-Kent County resident use. So I'm just throwing that out there as something that, I think most locals will encourage and appreciate. I know the town of Betterton has certainly appreciated the restrictions that are in place. And so just putting that out there, that I think that's something that we should consider in the long term, even beyond COVID, once we get there.
So if you click kentcounty.com and hit Betterton, it does take you right there, and it does spell it right out. So it's not that difficult to find.
Okay. Bob says it's not that difficult to find it.
If I can find it.
He says if he can find it, anybody can find it. I haven't tried. That would be the real test. But I think from a person in Kent County, I really think they are appreciative of the fact that they can go to the beach and not get there and it's already at capacity. And, as a taxpayer in the county, I think we need to take all that into account. So I do have one question on Wharton Park. I had a question about the ball fields. This person, they didn't see why they couldn't use the ball fields. And I don't mean to have a game, but even if they wanted to, I don't know, I guess play catch with their children or something, which we have not opened.
That actually is permitted. Our ball fields are open. They're just not open to organized team sport activities.
Okay, so the ball fields a person can use. Okay.
Correct. The ball fields as well as the athletic fields. They just, basically, we're not permitting use to organizations for their youth sports programs, or if someone were to now say, can we, have exclusive use for a tournament or something like that.
Okay.
So that's not what we're permitting. But just, a family, a couple kids, a small group that want to go out there and, whether it's,
they can do that.
Or hit balls, they certainly can do that.
Okay, that's fine. All right. Ronnie or Bob, you have any? Did you have anything else, Myra, or?
I do. So related to pool operations for the summer season, 2 weeks ago, Jill Coleman, she came before you on my behalf. I wasn't feeling well, and she made the recommendation to not open pools for the season. Not knowing, of course, 1 week later, there was going to be a change to the executive order permitting swimming pools to be open. What I want to point out is that the Maryland Recreation and Parks Association, the MACO affiliate for Parks and Recreation, as well as the Maryland Municipal League Parks and Recreation affiliate, we all, over the last 6-7 weeks, we have weekly calls where we talk about operations, including pools and summer camps and things of that nature. There's a contact on the governor's task force that we have requested if we could make some recommendations around parks and recreation, so the governor could really get a better insight on, our operations and what we felt should be the case as far as our operations. So with one of those recommendations, swimming pools being open, we did not recommend swimming pools be open until stage 2. We didn't know that the information had not made its way to the governor before last Wednesday's announcement to open the pools. Now, that being said, here we are. Can it be done? Yes. Certainly guidelines are out, reduced capacity, restrictions are in place set forth by the local health department. We have a formula provided by the health department for us to, come up with the reduced capacity. Now, with the community center, the reduced capacity is 190 people. 190 people is still far too many and not manageable for this COVID-19 environment, considering our lifeguards and their levels of comfort and abilities, along with the placement of the furniture, still requiring the social distancing. And what I'm going to do now, I'm going to share with you, I can get it up here, a couple of pictures of the community center pool with the furniture laid out, placed out, if it's socially distanced. So bear with me for a second. Okay, so can you see the picture that's on the screen?
Yes.
Okay, so the furniture has been laid out. So right now, we have the furniture spaced out. It's a little bit more than 6 feet in between each of the tables and each of the loungers, just because people, of course, are going to be getting up and moving around, and there's a lot of movement. So it's spaced out a little bit more than 6 feet between each, seating location. But so this kind of gives you a visual of how we have things laid out right now. And I'll just, scroll through some of the pictures. From this view, you'll see loungers that are lined up in front of what we call the waiting pool. That's just a picture of the pool. The pool is not yet completely filled, but it will be filled and, ready for operations by this coming Monday. This view here shows you tables that are lined up down the side of the pool upon entry. The total number of tables placed right now are 10. There are 10 tables, and
Ira, we just lost audio.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. So with the number of tables and loungers that we have currently laid out, it seats a total of 70 people. That 70 number is a number that I am comfortable and confident that we could safely manage with the number of lifeguards that we have to staff the pool. And I think I've gone through all the pictures now, so I'm going to close that out.
How many days a week do you have lifeguards for?
It would be 7 days a week.
Okay.
So now, what I do want to point out, we are very limited in our lifeguards this year, and it's simply because of COVID-19. At this time of year, well, actually prior to Memorial Day weekend, we would have about 30 lifeguards already on board, ready to go, and scheduled to work. We have a total of, through yesterday, we have 12 lifeguards right now that are for hire and have completed most of the pre-employment requirements. We have 2 more on the agenda to be approved. Patient received recently presents week. Pending those 3 are approved and meet the pre-employment requirements, we'll only have a total of 15 lifeguards. So we are in a position where we can open all 3 pools. We can open the community center pool. You all can still hear me? I saw some spotty things going on my end. Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, all right. So my recommendation is that we do open Kent County Community Center pool. By the time the pool gets filled, we do our training and whatnot. The recommendation is that we would be ready to open Saturday, June 27th. And we would be able to open essentially through Labor Day. However, that said, we would have to come mid-August, modify our operations, pending how many of those college students go back on campus for college. Those decisions haven't been made yet. So if our college students leave to go back to campus out of town, then we lose at least 6 of those guards. So those decisions certainly can be made a little bit later, but that's our situation as far as our staffing ability. My recommendation is that we do open the community center pool. We offer online registration through a reservation procedure. We do have to collect everyone's contact information in the case that there is a positive identification of someone who has been at our pool, and then the health department will be able to conduct contact tracing. I'm also recommending that the community center pool be open to local Kent County residents only. This is something that many jurisdictions are also implementing. Kent County certainly does not have to follow suit, but it is something that, I think we should seriously consider, and that would be part of my recommendation. Let's see. We would certainly need to, in the registration process for the reservation, include some waivers. Even though we're in an outdoor environment and there's chlorine used in our pools, the position is that, yes,